Hello people, welcome to my first full tutorial of how to make this seamlessly tileable sci-fi panels material and then bake into textures. The idea came because I was playing around these days in Unreal Engine 4 on this endless runner project. Here's a quick show off of where I'm at. It's not something much yet, but who knows, if I'm more consistent, maybe something can come out of it. I'm still playing around with controls and level generation, which is made by these different pieces of corridors, just randomly placed and scaled cubes. And I wanted to have some different variations of some sci-fi panels textures and tile them on the world coordinates, so no matter how they spawn and intersect with each other, the textures are always going to be tiled. For example,
now I'm gonna just,
as you see when I'm compiling every time, they have random location and scale, and the texture is always in one place. And I was searching how to tile procedural textures in Blender, because still there is no option for it, and I found some info about it in the Blender Stack Exchange forum. Here's one of the threads, and I applied this function to my material. Link for that will be in the description if you want to look it up. I'm not going into details why and how, I will just use it. So I'm going to show you how to make similar textures and bake them for a game engine like in my case. At the end I will hope I will leave you with something like this. We'll have a final group with a bunch of controls so we can pick different variations. So I'm not going to show you a lot of stuff in Unreal for this one. And if you want a tutorial about how I do some stuff there, just drop a comment or any feedback. And if there is more interest, I can try to do that. So let's start this. Okay, so first enable the Wrangler add-on, so you can use the same hotkeys as me. Add a plane, go to the modifier tab, add two array modifiers, one tiled by X, the other one tiled by Y axis, so you can later check on the tiled by bigger scale. Let's drag a window and change it to shader editor. Create a material, call it whatever you like. Mine will be sci-fi panels. Yes, sci-fi panels. Let's drag this here. And now let's create a Voronoi texture. Let me just okay. Let's view it. Now Control T, put the UV coordinate there, drag this here, and now we're gonna build the function that I showed you before in the forum. Add a vector math node, change it to scale, and just enter the magical number of 6.283. Okay, Shift A and call separate X, Y, Z. Drag it and drop it there. Combine X, Y, and Z. Duplicate this vector math node, change it to sine. Plug the X to the X. Again the X plug, but change this math node to cosine. And this goes to the Y. Duplicate those. So do the same for the Y from the separate node. Goes to the cosine. Change this to 4D mode to Chebyshev, and goes to the 4D seed vector input. And when we check this with the array modifiers, we can see our tile that is seamless, and when we move this number, that the scene breaks apart. So I'm gonna enter some numbers from my original material that I written down. Let's duplicate this, use the color output to the vector, and this for the output in this second for the input vector. Change this to Euclidean. and the distance output goes to the vector. Let's tweak this a little. These are my preferred numbers. You can copy if you like. So for the input, we'll use this one here. Make some points here, and you can tighten this up a little. So let's call it the RGB to black and white node, so we are sure that it converts it to black and white properly. Now let's add some bumpiness called a bump node, and from this black and white, just put it into the height, call a map range node. A map range node, so you can control a little bit the height map. Oops. Let's make a reroute here. So duplicate this map range, and you can invert it. And just, you know, plug it to the roughness input, crank the metallic to 1, so we can have some variation of the roughness here. Now call a ramp node and drop it here. So you can just pick a bunch of colors you like. I like to search for original color palettes, and I have some downloaded here, so you can do the same if you like, but I'm gonna fast forward the color picking. Okay. So let's put a hue saturation node, and I like to desaturate it a little, bring up the value up, play around with the hue. Okay, now let's start adding more details. Let's start maybe with a wave texture, or whatever texture you like, but it works well for you know, some nice bigger stripes, or if you want to mimic a vent or something. Okay, so as you see, by default it's tiled on the generated coordinates, and it, you know, it tiles perfectly whatever it is, but when we tile this on the UV, we'll have a little bit of problem, because the wave texture doesn't have a 4D vector option. It actually, we must tile it by the UV. Even if I plug this here, maybe you like this effect, by the way, it's actually tiled pretty well, but just with this
effect there, so
I prefer to just scale it just precisely so it can be tiled. Let me fast forward through this. So this numbers works well for me. If you like, you can copy. And now let's add a map range node again, so to control a little bit more of the contrast of the wave texture. Okay, and I'm gonna call the mix RGB node, so we can mix the wave texture with everything here that I call the main pattern. And now let's make the mask, and I'm gonna make it from this output here. Now let's choose greater than and crank this a little, so we can just pick some parts. Call another map range node, so you can invert this. Let me drag this up there. And this goes to the second color. Oops, maybe. Yeah. Actually, you know, let's switch those colors and... Okay, this is better. You don't need to invert
the min and the max.
Let me tighten this a little. Shift, duplicate another mix node so we can add more breakiness to the wave texture, a little bit of more detail. Another Voronoi texture, change it to 4D, plug in the vector, the 4D input. And now let's add a brick texture. Let's plug the distance into the vector and the color into the color 2 of the mix node. And now let's just play around here. Change this to F2, maybe to just Chebyshev. So as you see now we have these nice patterns. You can play around. I'm gonna tweak this a little. Yeah, I like this one here. So now let's make the mask for this. We'll duplicate this right here and take the color of the Voronoi. So maybe we can invert this. Okay, and use the threshold. Okay, so let me see now. Yeah, we have a little bit of finer details here and there. So now all of this will plug into the rest, the color, the roughness, and the bump map. Yeah, this is the bump, the color. And now the roughness. Let me see. Let's take a look what we have. So yeah, you can play around with those settings.
It's just my, my quick idea of how to add details over
Another details. It's very quick and easy.
Okay. I like to tweak a lot. I must stop. Okay. Let's just stop tweaking and go further on. So let's add more details. So what about now add more details like some holes or something that mimics bolts or something. We can use another Voronoi texture for this. And again, we'll play a little bit with the tiling. So, because we have a 4D mode here, we can control the 4D seed of these holes actually where to appear. Something like masking, but in a different way. Let's call a math node and change it to greater than. Okay. So let's grab this and put it into the 4D input. So as you see, we start having some effect of it. Okay, let's put the randomness on 0. And as you see already, we kind of mask it with this one. So let me put a map range node between this, and if we play with the values, we can have some kind of a control. As you see, we separate where the holes are. So yes, you have to play a little bit with values. That's just another quick way to add more details. So let's duplicate this math node and quickly multiply it actually. I'm not going to use a mix node for this one. Let's select multiply. And now we actually, I think we have to, yeah, it's all done. As you see, we have our holes here. And if we tweak again a little, we can actually fix our problems with the UV tiling. Again, as you see. Okay. So maybe like, okay, I like it, I like this better. And now I will try to organize things a little and fast forward into it. I'm not gonna show the whole process. You can do it if you like. Yeah, here playing around a little bit with colors for your liking. Roughness 2. I'm gonna show you later how to add more details into the surface with a little bit of noise texture. But for now, let's add another math node. So I want to add more details for the emission effect. And let's grab the distance for this greater than node and start making another mask that actually we're gonna place there our emission parts. And I'm gonna do this one with mix node, mix RGB node. Put it right over here, so we don't need to re-input everything else afterwards. Okay, so as you see where parts are gonna be, real quick mask. So let's add another Voronoi texture. Keep in mind, the more textures you're adding, the more material is getting heavier.
But if you want to add more different details,
That's how I do it.
let's duplicate this one here. So we're going to change it to Chebyshev distance. Add a map range node. Plug in the distance. And now we'll do the same as the other ones. Change to 4D. Plug to the 4D input. Do the same for this one. You can reroute here to make it more cleaner. Okay. So let's play around again with this one. This will be another mask that we're gonna multiply with another Voronoi texture. From the bottom, as you see, it's tiled already. So let's crank this a little bit higher. Now let's change this to Chebyshev. So as you see, these gonna be our actually exact emission parts. The upper Voronoi is just kind of to break it. So let's take a math node and multiply those two. As you see. So now, actually call another multiply and take this mask and multiply it all over it. And as you see what we have here, okay, this one will go to the mix node and we'll grab another math node so we can have a little bit more control over the emission strength. And this goes directly into the emission strength of the principled BSDF shader. So pick a color of your liking. Okay. Let's now see, yes. Okay. That was my idea. Let's rearrange here and comment. Okay. Let's just bring another bump node and grab this map range node. We'll duplicate it and invert it so we can grab this here and I don't know if this have any effect of it, but maybe specifically for the normal map. Okay. And now let's have a look at our tile. Let's tweak a little bit of the effects here. Maybe add a
some light, tweak a little bit of the roughness here. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of a lapse of just me going crazy with the tweaking. And now let's add the noise texture I was talking about, that we're going to add a little bit of detail in the roughness. So let's change it to 4D, and we're going to apply this function with the tiling, and we can just use these reroute nodes. Plug this to the 4D input. We can use the factor of it, change the detail to 6. So I'm just going to Shift A and add a mapping node. I will go here and maybe change it to texture. As you see, now it's very small, but I will just crank this X and Y, so I will get this stretchy effect. And again, the cool part about this is that this noise texture is tiled, and it's not gonna have a seam in our texture. So now let's add a math node, change it to power, so we can control a little bit of the contrast. Now let's go up here to the roughness map range node, add a math node and change it to multiply, so we can multiply with the noise texture. And now let's view it. So now you see we have this a little bit more finer detail in the surface with the roughness and the metallicness. So again, play around for your liking. I like it this way. And maybe we can overlay it over the color, duplicate a mix RGB node, change it to overlay, and just you can plug this one here right away. So as you see, now with this one we have it even like a color. You can even maybe invert it, but whatever, let's leave it like that. So now you can play with the factor of it a little bit. Okay. Another detail I like to add, just call a ambient occlusion node, turn on the ambient occlusion and put the bump node into the normal input of the ambient occlusion. And as you see, we have these lines. We can overlay them too, but maybe even just multiply like an ambient occlusion map. Just pick multiply, and yeah, just a little bit of detail, so we can have these lines over our texture map, just for a final detail. As you see, very, very subtle. Just another fine detail if you like to add. Okay, so now let's drag and make this into a group. Shift A, make group. Go back with this button. You can rename it whatever you like. Mine is Sci-fi panels again. So let's grab this group input node and start plugging in our parameters we want to tweak later. You just grab, drag. You can rename them, of course. I like to have this scale and randomness inputs. Okay. It's a little bit boring, so I will fast forward. Okay, so let me show you just quick how to bake, because if I don't know, for me there's some problems when I try to bake just with the group, specifically for the diffuse map. So I'm gonna just add an image, and I will make it on diffuse sci-fi panels, whatever you like to call it. And the thing I'm gonna do actually is I'm not gonna bake, because actually I'm gonna demonstrate to you.
If I try to
Bake with this, what's gonna happen?
Let's go here, change to cycles, lower values. I'm gonna diffuse color, whatever. Let's try to bake and see what's gonna happen. I'm gonna use this window for UV editor, and just let's start viewing what we're gonna bake. Let's press bake. Okay, so as you see, the image is black, and what I'm gonna do is actually I'm just gonna call a diffuse BSDF, and I'm gonna plug this right here. I'm gonna use this shader just for the baking, and we just hope that this connection doesn't gonna break the baking. So again, select your image. Okay, as you see, it's a little bit different, but we still need only the color, and just press bake. Okay, so as you see now, we have this texture baked. Now you're just going to save this, or first of all pack, save as an image, whatever you like to be. And now let's duplicate and create just more of it. Let's call this normal. And by the way, the normal is okay. Change this to non-color. Okay. But just go back here and let's bring this back. And I think there will be not a problem to bake the Roughnes too, or the Emission. I hope we'll try. Okay, this is our normal. Yeah, let's bake. So we have the normal, and now let's bake the Roughnes map.
Just like what you have, it's important to click it. Roughnes map, this side, else.
Non-color. Just choose the roughness. So just pick the roughness so we can see it. Okay, as you see now we have the roughness map too. So save it, and the normal too. And now let's bake the emission for the last one. As I know, you can bring down the samples for the emission texture. Let's choose. Let's just first create another one. Emission. Of course, I'm renaming this very wrong.
We first have to do the sci-fi panel. Where?
Okay, actually leave this on color, on sRGB, and then just bake again.
Let's choose it to
view it, and let's pick the meat. Yeah, we already did that, and just bake. Okay, and now we have our textures baked. I think it's time to finish this video. It's very, very, very long. So thank you for watching. This was a bit of an experiment, so I hope you like it. Take care.